in China. Whenever I talk about Chinese society, inevitably there'll be a nationalist down in the comments saying, "Oh yeah, but China's so safe. In America there are mass shootings everywhere. You can't go anywhere, everyone has a gun. You're going to get shot randomly on the street." It's a big point of argument that they like to bring up a lot, but there is something that people don't talk about, and those are the mass stabbings that happen in China all the time. Why do these occur? Why do they specifically seem to target children in kindergartens or people in hospitals? Let's talk about it. It's a bit of a tough subject. Now, I would like us all to acknowledge that the school shootings in America and the school stabbings in China can't actually be compared, and I'm going to tell you why. You see, with the school shootings in America, it's usually a student inside that school, a frustrated, spoiled, misunderstood young man who's trying to take out his frustrations and get attention. He's seeking attention. And, you know, it's just basically a mixture of all the wrong ingredients and resulting in this just absolute terrible, disgusting behavior. It's a video for another time. I am planning to talk about these school shootings and at least why I think they happen. But in China, the big difference is what you have is you have an adult, a fully grown adult, usually middle-aged, somewhere in their 40s, 50s, who goes into a kindergarten or a primary school and stabs and kills defenseless children. So you see, there's a vast difference here. We're dealing with a completely different causes and a completely different type of person. So a grown adult going in to attack defenseless children versus, you know, a student who is attacking his peers, a cowardly student. They're both cowards, obviously, but that's about where we can stop drawing parallels. So it's difficult to talk about this in China and with Chinese people because, of course, whilst living in China, I tried my best to talk about these things because they happen often. But the problem is people don't talk about it, number one, because you can't really talk about bad things in China with a foreigner. It's something people don't do. And number two, it never makes the news. Things like that just don't. You see, the number one priority of the Chinese government is to maintain social harmony. You can actually get arrested for, you know, upsetting the harmony of, you know, society. And that means it's a very broad sort of a thing, but it basically means anything. If you do anything that makes people upset or causes people to gather or, you know, get angry or, you know, puts the government in ill repute or anything like that. It's a very broad spectrum thing. So it's something that, you know, like for instance, a friend of, I shouldn't say a friend, he's not a friend, a guy that I knew, a foreigner, you know, got horribly drunk and went out and caused a big ruckus, and he got deported, and his official reason was for disturbing the harmony of society. He deserved it. I'm glad he got kicked out. Anyway, you know who you are, you suck. Let's continue. So, this stuff doesn't make the news. So when you try to talk to somebody about it, they'll be like, no, I haven't heard about that. Or they immediately just go to that knee-jerk reaction, whataboutism. Oh yeah, well, you know, you've got school shootings in America. It gets kind of tedious when you try to discuss this. But there have been a few people that I've had conversations with who have been pretty open about this and who've managed to give me some insight into the whole thing. You see, China has a massive wealth gap. And I mean huge. You can go to one area of China and you can see people walking around without shoes on, eating rats. I keep using this, and yeah, it's a little bit unfair, but you know, there are parts of China where people eat rats, and usually cane rats. In fact, in Stay Awesome China, I went to a restaurant in Guangzhou that serves rats as one of their specialties. So you know, it's not that uncommon. It's it's not like it's not actually that bad. But you know, you do go to parts of the country where people are really dirt poor and living without electricity and, you know, without running water and things like that. It still exists. And also, the vast majority of Chinese people do still, kind of at least compared to the rest of the world, live in sort of a very impoverished situation. The opposite, however, is true in the cities. Inside the cities of China, people live well. You know, they've got a big amount of income, at least comparatively to the rest of China. You get a lot of millionaires, you get a lot of billionaires. You know, your middle class in China is actually very well off. These are the people that are jetting around the world, buying up property, things like that. You know, China is a country of sort of like black and white, you know. It's just such vast differences between the wealthy and the poor. So what happens is you get these people that feel disillusioned, you know, somebody who basically went through everything that, you know, all the crap of the Cultural Revolution, devolution and the Great Leap Backwards. somebody who's had to struggle really hard in their lives, and they get to a point where they see other people around them who went through the same struggles, seeing their peers, and their peers have a lot. Okay, they have struck it lucky because they just happened to be in the right place at the right time, or knew the right person in their family, or just in the government, and so they became rich, or at least wealthy. And they see these young children walking around with iPhones and iPads. Meanwhile, the guys that attack and do these things all the time, every single time, it's somebody who's very low end as far as the income bracket is concerned. So somebody who's unemployed, somebody who can't get a job or has a very low end job. These are the guys that are doing this. So this is at least my opinion. The first reason for this is jealousy. You've got a guy in his 40s and his 50s who works really hard, who just can't get anywhere in life, and sees all these young spoiled brats running around with their iPads and their iPhones, and he just kind of snaps and he takes it out on them. But what a Chinese person told me, which makes a lot more sense to me, is that there are very few things in life that you can take away from a Chinese person that matter. Because money, at the end of the day, in China is the number one thing. It's the most important thing. It's because there's no religion, right? There's no God, there's no faith in anything other than wealth. Wealth is the most important thing in modern China. And so what will happen is you can go and steal someone's computer, they don't care. You can scratch their car, they don't care. You can do whatever you want. That's not going to affect them. But a child is like an investment, especially with the whole one-child policy. Don't forget that. Even though in recent years there's now a two-child policy, the kind of people that we're talking about are still part of that whole generation where their peers only have one child. So you've got this one child. You put in all you can. You work incredibly hard to give them a good education, to make sure they have the best of everything. Because that's what happens in China. The child, especially the single child, is the most important thing for the family. Not only because of love and that kind of thing, but as an investment. Because when you get old, China doesn't have a social system like some other countries like Canada, etc. You can't live off a pension. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to retire now and the country's going to help me out, or I'm poor, so I'm going to go, to the Social Security office and get benefits, or, that kind of thing. It doesn't exist. And where it does exist, it's very inadequate. So people rely on their children as a form of retirement investment. By giving them the best education, it guarantees that they'll get a better paying job, right? By making sure that they get married to a wealthy partner, it also ensures that more wealth will come into the family. Don't forget that when your child gets married, you as a parent will eventually retire and move in with your children and live with them. It's part of the whole system. So it's like the most important thing in the world. This child of yours is the most important thing for your retirement and your future. And so these guys are going after that because they know if they want to hurt society, if they want to hurt people the most, they will attack the most precious thing, and that is their child/investment/retirement plan. And that's why they do it. Whenever you read about these, stabbings, when it does make the news, it's always blamed on mental health issues. And yes, China has a very big problem with mental health because they don't have an adequate system to treat it. I know my wife, being a doctor, had to deal with mental health patients, and the way they deal with it is actually quite scary because due to the large population, they don't have like insane asylums or places that, like treatment facilities. What they do is they basically put the person who has a mental health problem in the care of their family. And the only safeguard they have is that someone like my wife, a doctor, is assigned like a whole area. And that doctor has to phone up the family, whoever's in charge of that person, once a week or once a month, probably once a month. They have like an Excel spreadsheet in their computer, phone them up, and they ask like, are they taking their medication? Are they, not doing anything bad, etc.? And then the family member has to basically vouch for the mentally ill patient and say, yes, they're okay, they're taking their meds. And sometimes they'll just say like, no, they don't want to take their meds. And there's very little that can be done about it. If there is a problem, then someone like my wife has to phone a designated police officer and tell them, this family over there is having a problem. Then the police have to go and look into it. It's kind of a weird system. It's not very effective. But at the end of the day, what it is it's putting the responsibility of making sure that the mentally handicapped person or the person that has a mental health problem, All the responsibility is then put on the family to make sure they don't go and do something bad. That's how it works. So there's no real government oversight to ensure that these people are okay. It's just left in the hands of the family. Anyway, that's kind of what happens there. But I still think this whole mental health thing is very often just used as a kind of a lazy explanation as to why this is happening. I honestly feel that there are people filled with so much resentment for the society around them because they are the have-nots and they see all the haves around them. And so the only way that they can go out there and take out their frustration is to attack these young defenseless children. It's awful, it's disgusting. So I want to take this opportunity right now to draw everybody's attention and point to the school stabbings in China. It is a problem. It is a big problem with society that Chinese people, my friends, need to fix. You need to address it. I want everybody in the world, everybody watching this video. I don't care about school shootings in America. I don't care about floods in India. I don't care about the crime rate in South Africa. I don't care about the end of the world. I care about the children that are being stabbed in China. This is a problem. Let's talk about it and let's try our best to find a solution. That's it for today. Thank you. Anyway guys, thank you super very much for watching. Next time you can catch me again on Friday at 1 p.m. EST. Wednesdays you can catch Lao 86 up here. Do not forget ADV China, the most important one, every single Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard.